Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us again this week. This is our Expecting Miracles series, and we are going to be joined by the lovely Sue Atkins as usual. Let me invite Sue now. Wonderful weather. It is so much better than what we had last week. Put it that way. I know I'm managing to do a lot more. Oh, hi, Sue.
Hello. Hello, how are you?
I'm really good. I'm really good. It seems to be everybody's birthdays at the moment.
Is it? Why is it yours?
Not mine, unfortunately, no. But it's just all my friends. So I've just been partying and partying and partying.
Oh,
How
it's
wonderful.
how hard. What a life,
I
eh?
know,
Marvellous.
I know.
And I'm just
Someone
back,
has to do
back from Berlin, so I've had a wonderful
it.
weekend. So,
Ooh,
yeah, we're all
fabulous.
refreshed then.
Yes, well, maybe mentally, not quite physically.
Yeah, well, that's true. let me turn it down a little bit this way. There we are. Is that better?
We've got a few people that have joined us. Hello, everyone. If you're joining us, thank you so much for being here this week. This is our third week now.
It is. Can you believe it? Yes, and
I
we share them, don't we, out and about on social media as well in bite-size bits and pieces, so that you can tell your friends to come and watch them, even if they miss the lives.
Yes, exactly. And all these will be on the website eventually as well on the YouTube channel. We're going to have a special page of all the notes on there. So if you do
Wonderful.
rush off or you miss a particular week that you want to be involved in, it'll all be on our website so you can catch up. That's not a problem.
Oh, that's great, isn't it? I mean, we wrote some scripts as well to help. Anything to support, anything to help, because you don't have to do these things on your own.
Exactly. And if anyone's got any ideas or anything that they want help with, any advice, please put your messages in the comments, because we do see them. And if we don't get round to answering them this week, then we will definitely get round to answering them next
Mm.
week. So yeah, anything you want to ask us, any comments, thoughts, feelings, just whack it all there in the comments section. So
Ah, look
this
at that. It pops up very cleverly, doesn't it? On the chat. Oh,
it
marvellous.
does. I love technology. So we're going to be discussing informed choices and consent
Mm.
this week, which
Mhm.
I think is a really, really important subject, and I love talking about this, because I don't think it's talked about enough, really. We talk about different information that we need to know about. We don't necessarily talk about what our rights are and the fact that we do actually have to give consent. It's quite important, really.
Yes, when you say the word rights, everyone goes, oh, I don't know. And women tend to be sort of, oh, I don't want to be all too assertive. But you do need to know where you're going with this and what it means. You don't have to be aggressive or rude to be assertive and confident. So I think it is important to talk about this subject really and to help people feel more in control, and then they feel more relaxed, then they feel respected. And, you know, it is your healthcare decisions. And of course, things happen that you can't plan for. We said that before. But I think it's important that you do know where you're going and what you're entitled to and what you should say.
Exactly. And I think it comes back to what we discussed last week as well about empowering yourself. So educate yourself as much as possible. Do lots of research about all different aspects of pregnancy. Attend your antenatal classes, and really discuss everything that you can with your healthcare professional, because that's what they're there for at the end of the day. That's what they're there.
Exactly. And that's it. Ask questions, because, you know, that's how you get answers. And people that are in working with you or helping you want you to ask them questions. I remember when I was doing my antenatal with my husband, he actually turned to me when we got outside one of the things and he said, do let other people answer the questions. because I always like to read around subjects. I've always been passionate about this kind of subject. But it is important, if you're a little bit hesitant or you're a bit shy, don't be. Ask the question, or get your partner if you are feeling a little bit shy. But that's how you find out, by asking questions, and people are there to help you.
Oh, absolutely. And I had a call earlier, actually, just before we came onto this live session, which I thought was really interesting, and I've made a note of this. But the call was about registering for their midwife, and they've gone onto the digital system, they've registered, but they haven't heard anything yet. They're very, very early on in their pregnancy. So I said, oh, you probably won't hear anything for at least 2 or 3 weeks, because, midwives don't normally book an appointment until your booking appointment, which is usually sort of 8, 9 weeks pregnant, something like that.
Yeah.
And then thankfully, she asked me, well, what should I be doing in the meantime?
Good question.
If I'm not going to have contact with my midwife until then.
Brilliant question.
And I thought, so I said, well, are you taking folic acid?
Yes.
And she'd never heard of folic acid.
Oh, wow.
So I was like,
so that was really helpful.
Yes, it was really important that we had that conversation. So now she's obviously going to go and get the folic acid. She knows when to take it. But it's little things like that if we don't ask, we don't end up having those conversations. So I've made a note now. When I get calls from women that are very early on in their pregnancy, I'm going to make sure that I inform them about folic acid. But if we ask questions, it means that you end up having different discussions that you wouldn't necessarily have, and that means that the midwife then gets to find out more information about your health, because you may happen to mention that you've been feeling really thirsty recently.
Right.
So she might then want to test you for gestational diabetes earlier than she may otherwise have done, for example. That's just an example. But I also think if you find out exactly why certain checks and procedures and things like that are being done, then you'll understand it more, you'll realise the importance more, you'll know why they're checking your urine, you'll know why they're checking your blood pressure, and then you're more likely to notice anything untowards of your body, so you can report sooner rather than later. So I always say ask away, ask as many questions as possible. It's so important.
I think so. And then that means that leads on to you understanding what your sort of rights are around your body, for if there are any sort of informed decisions that you have to make in the moment or in the future. Then if you fully understand what's going to be happening to you, and if you're okay with all of that. So I think it's important that you can then talk about these things. So ask and listen. That's the other thing. Some of us aren't very good at listening, so listen to what's being said to you too, because it's done with good grace, isn't it, and to be helpful.
Yeah, definitely. So sometimes it's very hard to take in all the information at once that's being said to you. So you can go in prepared with your questions. When a question pops into your head, write it down so you've got it there ready to ask. And then write down all the answers afterwards. Because
and not to feel pressurized. You don't have to make a decision there and then. I think that's important. What you're saying there is really helpful, to maybe jot it down, have it in a little booklet or a journal or something, because you don't have to make immediate decisions 9 times out of 10, and then you take your time. That's all. Sorry, interrupted you.
No, that's fine. It's really important to take it and to remember that you can change your mind at any point. You might go away and think, oh, actually, now I've done some more research, or now I've spoken to such and such. I've decided that actually a different route would be better for me. So you can always change your mind. Again, discuss it with your healthcare professional. But when you're fully informed, and it's your right to be fully informed. So you know the benefits, the cons, the risks. It's very important to find out all that information so that you can really make an informed choice. And again, if you're empowered with as much knowledge as possible, if you're in a situation where you've got to make a quick decision, because it could be an emergency, for example, then you're more armed with the information, and you can make an informed choice and an informed decision there and then, when it really matters.
And if you've got a relationship, you know, I'm a great believer in, I like people and I like working with people. I think if you've got a good relationship, hopefully with the people around you who are looking after you, then you can relax a bit more and you know, can review the birth plan perhaps together so that it's a kind of a joint feeling. And I know shifts change and people come and go, but if you've got that group around you where you feel supported and nurtured, you feel more confident. I think that helps your body, helps your mind, and helps your baby.
Definitely. We have pregnancy passports where you can write your birth
Yes.
on the
Yeah,
front.
wonderful.
And again, you can change that whenever you want. And it's all about your choices. What are your choices? So ask lots of questions. Find out what is your choice, and that also includes the place where you're going to give birth as well. You know, you don't have to go to your nearest
Mm.
hospital. You can look at the hospital stats before making a decision. The hospital, the maternity unit should publish those stats on their website, but if not, you can request them. Sometimes they publish them on their maternity social media pages. So sometimes they'll have a Facebook page or an actual Instagram page, and they do an infographic sort of every month with their different statistics on,
Yeah.
so you can have a look at that. And I always advise that if you're considering a home birth, just find out what the current ambulance transfer times are. Just
Wow. Yeah.
don't assume that if any
Yes.
complications were to
Yeah.
happen, that an
Yeah.
ambulance will be there instantly, because unfortunately that's not the world that
Yeah.
we live in. Especially if
Mm.
you live in a really remote area,
Yes.
so it's a harder to reach.
Yeah.
Those are just things to discuss with your healthcare professional, and you know, so you can work out exactly what resources and staffing they have in your area.
Yes, good point. Very good point. I mean, what's your view then on a second opinion? If you're feeling a bit uncomfortable with a proposal or something like that, do people feel they don't want to speak up and be a nuisance? Or what's your, you know, if you really, I always say you must trust your gut. You know, your instinct and your intuition is usually pretty accurate. But what's your advice about seeking a second opinion?
So we always say trust your instincts, and we say mama knows best.
Right.
You know you,
Yes.
you know your baby, you know if something's not
Yeah.
right, you know your body. And I think it is important that we, because again, it's our right. It is our right to have
Yes.
a second
Yes.
opinion. We are completely
Yes.
entitled to do that, and we don't have to be rude,
Yeah.
like you say. We don't have to be aggressive. We could just we've got some scripts that we're going to publish, aren't we, on
Yes.
how to address these issues.
What to say,
What
because I find a lot of people don't quite know sometimes how to say it or what to say. And I think if you've practiced it or even got it up your sleeve, you feel empowered and confident should you need to be able to ask.
Exactly. On our wellbeing wallets that we hand out, it does actually say if you would like a second opinion, you can always speak to your head of midwifery.
Yes.
So do ask to speak to your head midwifery, and if they are not available at that particular time, then there should be a deputy head or some ward manager. There will be someone in charge that you should be able to speak
Yeah.
to and go to. And again, for obstetricians, you know, if you want a second opinion, you can request that. You can ask for another appointment with another obstetrician
Mhm.
to get their point of view. And I think that's very important, because again, you get a balanced,
Yes.
fully informed
Yeah.
information, so you can make the right decision for you.
Because I think it's important that if you do give your permission to anything, that you actually know what you're giving your permission to. You've got to be very specific about that too. And you're in the moment, you're panicking perhaps, or you're hot, or you're flustered, or it's all kicking off. You do need to make sure that you absolutely just make sure you know what you're, you know, saying yes to or no to.
Exactly. So that's when you can involve your partner.
Yes.
Again, coming back to the birth plan, if you've got certain choices that are written down, then when certain things are happening, they can actually make sure that some of those things do happen if appropriate.
Yes.
So I always say, you know, point out your birth plan at the start of an appointment
Yes.
with a healthcare
Don't
provider.
forget.
They forget to look at it. Like, there's so many different
Yeah.
things going
Oh,
on, and they're reading
I
the
know.
news. They might forget to look at your birth plan. And ask your partner to present that when you go into
Yes.
labor, you know, when you're going into the hospital to have the baby, make sure that that's handed over at that point. It might be on the front of your pregnancy passport, for instance, or you might have it written down separately. You might have a certain app that you can write it in, whatever form it is,
Yes. Yeah.
hand it over right at the start and say, please make sure the team read this beforehand, because these are my choices.
Mm.
Obviously, you do need to be flexible because it depends what those choices are and what situations arise. But
Yes. Sure.
usually, when it comes to certain basic things, they should be able to
Yeah.
carry that through for
Yeah. Tell me this, so everyone's clear when they're listening to this. What is the difference between actual informed consent and assent?
Now that is a very, very good point.
Okay.
I'm glad you've raised that. So
Are you panicking
informed.
about the answer?
No,
Sorry. Because
no,
there
it's
is a
fine.
nuance, isn't there?
It's fine. It's just sometimes, when your thought process is on a particular path, and I'm
Sorry,
thinking,
you were going somewhere else and I
yeah,
interrupted as usual.
I was
Sorry.
thinking, I really want to mention that, and I really want to mention that, and now you.
I'm sorry. You go back to where you were. Well, finish me off and then go back to where you were. Sorry about that. I'll keep quiet.
No, it's absolutely fine. It's absolutely fine. What were we talking about? What were we talking
So,
about?
informed
We were talking about.
consent means that you fully understand and you're clear, I think, about what you're agreeing to, isn't it? And then if
Sorry,
it's
go on.
assent, that's a bit less formal, isn't it? That sort of less formal agreement,
Yes.
often used when the person isn't fully informed. So, always try and aim, I think, for a fully informed consent, if that helps.
Yes. So you need to know all the information. And again, healthcare professionals are supposed to give you all that information, like we said earlier, the risks, the benefits, the cons,
Yep.
any implications if you decline a certain
Yeah.
procedure. They're meant to give you that information as well, so that you can be fully informed. And they're
Yes.
also supposed to give you that information in a very non-biased way,
Right.
which
Yes.
sometimes obviously can be a bit difficult because some biases can creep
Yeah.
in sometimes.
Yeah.
But yes, assent is more, it's very less formal. It's often when you're only being given half the
Mhm.
facts, basically. And sometimes people just give you some of the information that they feel you need to know at that point.
Yes.
But yeah, informed consent, also document everything as well.
Yes. Yes.
A record of the decisions that you make, because that will prove exactly what you have consented to and why, but also and how, because that will show what you've been told in order to make that fully formed
Now you
consent.
might be a bit on the busy side, so it might be quite nice for your birthing partner to be writing that
Yeah,
down because you might be focusing on something else. I wonder what that could be. But as you're saying, I'm thinking, oh my God, where's my pen? It's not sort of that. That's where you have a birthing partner that can take over some of that for you. So it's just kind of, and it's again, it's not sort of a scary thing. It's just to make sure everyone's clear, really.
exactly. And if you've got that birth plan, when you're having to make decisions, your partner can go back to your plan and think, oh yes, she
Oh yeah, we
decided,
forgot that bit. Yeah,
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 she
yeah.
said she wanted that actually, yes.
Yes, yeah.
And
I
they
remember my husband. I was like lying flat, and he went, "Oh, I think she wanted to stand up a bit more." And I thought, my God, at that point, I didn't care. So I just went, thank you." But he was trying to be helpful. So anyway, you have to be flexible. But he did remember, which was
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. Well, maybe the partners just need to keep asking. Do you still want this to happen? And do
Yeah,
you still
yeah,
want that to
yeah,
happen?
yeah. That's quite good, isn't it? Ask. Yeah, are you sure?
Yeah. But by involving them, it really makes them feel part of the whole
Yes.
journey,
Well,
doesn't it?
of
And
course.
part,
Yeah, of course.
yeah, yeah. And you've got their perspective as well, and it's really important to have their support,
Of
when you're having to make these
course. Oh
decisions.
yeah. Yeah.
Especially if things change.
Yes.
then if they're with you in the moment, they're supporting you in that, and they can explain
Yes.
afterwards, exactly what did what did happen, and why
Yeah.
the decision was made, and that you made it together,
Yeah.
you know.
That's part of it too, isn't it? Because you are going forward together with this, so it's nice that they feel included even in some of that. Yeah, that's all really, isn't it? Really, it's not too scary. It's just remembering some of these things. And if you've heard us talk about it, it may just pop into your head at that moment. It might be helpful to you, not really now, but maybe later on sometime.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, and like we say, things change. Um, Medical advice can change, the recommendations, the research, the guidelines.
Yeah.
They're always changing. So it's good to stay informed about current recommendations, because, if you've done a lot of research and you've thought about something, and then suddenly when you're there in that moment, the healthcare professionals are quoting something else, that can throw you a
Yes.
little bit,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially in the moment. So again, our website
Yeah.
is there to keep parents informed, especially healthcare professionals. We keep them up to date with all the current guidelines and practices. So that's a good place
Yeah.
to get that knowledge. We send a newsletter out every couple of months. So again, if anything changes, if there's any stories in the news, it's all on the
Yes.
newsletter.
Yeah. Oh, that's really helpful, isn't it? Just to sign up for that, so you know that that's coming no matter what. That's really helpful. So where do people sign up? On just go to your
Yeah,
website and sign up by
go to the
email.
homepage. It says join our mailing list,
Yeah,
and you just
simple as that.
sign up
Great.
there. Yeah, but I just think it's helpful, because then you're always in the know. You're in the know as to what's happening, especially to do with different medications that you can take with different conditions. There's always new research and guidelines coming out about that in the press, so you can keep up to date with that and make sure you're taking the right medications for whatever condition you have.
Yes. I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? Because your emotions are so heightened with your hormones and with your excitement or your nerves or the mixture of all of it, the overwhelm, being tired, sometimes not sleeping so well. So it's important to be kind to yourself and try and get yourself grounded sometimes, so that you stay sort of grounded and sort of calm and sort of rational, if you like, because I know that your emotions can go all over the place. But if you're mindful of it, then you just say, oh yeah, I'm having a wibbly wobbly day, or I'm a bit emotional today. And I think that just grounds you and brings you back to centre, which is quite important, really. Certainly if you're making some decisions.
Yeah, definitely. And I think our scripts will help as
Yeah.
the language you choose, because we can go into panic mode. Let's face it,
Yeah.
pregnancy can be quite a very
Yeah.
stressful time, especially when so many different changes are happening to your body. So yeah, it is important to do that. And of course, then you get to make decisions in a much more rational and logical way
Yeah.
when you're
Yes.
looking after yourself.
I mean, what's your top tips then on the sort of legal side of it, if you like, or the what we were saying, effectively communicating and making sure you feel on top of it? If you rounded it all up, what would you say were the most important things from tonight's takeaway?
I think it's being prepared.
Yeah.
It's definitely being prepared. Last week I used my RAC analogy, didn't I, of joining the RAC just in
Yeah,
case.
yeah, yeah.
So it's really empowering yourself with lots of information, deciding what's best for you, discussing everything with your maternity team.
Yeah.
That's what they're there for, because every person's different. Every person has different medical needs. They have different histories. They have different anxieties. So it's working out what's best for you, but know that your team is there for you. They can put together a really good plan, a personalized
Mm.
care
Yes.
plan
Yes.
for you and your baby, which works best for you. Um, and yeah, just write everything down, document it, and get lots of support.
And be careful with the scare stories. I remember when I was just about to have Will, I think, or was it Molly? Can't remember. But, one of my friends had been talking to someone else who had 4 kids, and she started on with some stories and things. And it wasn't really very helpful, to be really honest with you. She meant well, but she didn't really help me. In fact, she made me feel worse about certain things or a bit more anxious. So, yes, listen to your friends, of course, and get the support that you need, but then start to lean on or listen to your healthcare professionals because they're really the ones that are the experts in it. And then you get this balance, don't you, between, knowing what you are entitled to, knowing what you want, being flexible on the journey, and enjoying the whole process. We're not trying to scare you, we're trying to help you, aren't we?
Exactly. And you'll find that the more you talk to your healthcare professional,
Yes.
the more discussions you have, the more you'll get to know each
Yes.
other, the more you'll put your trust in them.
Yes.
And then, yeah, you'll work as a team because they'll work with you. So if there's certain things that you're really worried about and really anxious about and really against, they'll work with you and they'll find a way round it and put together a plan. So yes, don't think that they're against you.
No, no, no.
Really, they're all for
With
you.
on your website, do you help with the kind of a hub thing where mums can find other mums in their local area?
We have got a pregnancy support group, yes, on Facebook. Yep.
Yeah. Tell us a bit more
So
about that.
well, you can find it on our website. Again, if you go onto our
Yeah.
website, we're promoting
But
that.
you know what it's like? Because you deal with it all day long and you think, oh, yeah, it's on there. We got that. We got this. But people listening to this for the first time don't always know and don't know where to go. So it's always there. So that's why I keep asking you just to remind people to go and find it because you've usually got most of it covered, haven't you?
Yeah, yeah. We've got the peer-to-peer support group, Mama to Mama is what we've called it.
Yeah.
Uh, and we're part of that. We're monitoring that all the time. And again, like I said, we've got our pregnancy passports. So you can put your birth choices on the
Yeah.
front and keep discussing it with your healthcare professional. And really just remember that if things don't go too well with your maternity team, if you don't gel for whatever reason, you have a backup plan. You can always ask for a second opinion. You can
Yes.
always be moved to a different midwifery team if that's what you
Yeah.
need. So that's
Yeah.
kind of your plan B, to keep
Yes.
you in
Yeah.
control.
I think it's also important that you have a rainbow baby kind of support as well. That's something I have found to be very useful for other mums that have lost babies and are now going through the process and are slightly more anxious and worried, I would guess. So people can find all of that, can't they, on your website?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a free helpline. But we also have, again, a peer-to-peer support group on Facebook specifically for rainbow pregnancies, because we know how difficult that is. You expect the same thing to happen again that happened
Yes.
last time. There's certain milestones that you need to get through in your
Yes.
pregnancy where you need extra support at that time. So yeah, we're absolutely here for you. We understand our pregnancy helpline has a midwife at the end of the phone, and is there to counsel you, is there to support you, is there to help you with a plan, to get through these 9 months because they are incredibly difficult. But it's just important to know that you're not alone, and
Of
most
course. Yeah.
experiencing is very, very normal.
Yeah.
And again, you can discuss that with your midwives, and they're there to reassure you whenever you need extra reassurance because you're going a little bit crazy.
Mm.
Just go into the triage or the day assessment unit. They'll be more than happy to see you, listen into the baby's heartbeat, whatever you want, to give you that reassurance to get you through.
Have you got tips for mums that have got toddlers and little babies and they're worried about organising them and how the health, who's going to take care of them when we go into hospital?
So
And
again,
afterwards, because that was a learning curve for me.
it's just good to be prepared. It's good to have
Yeah.
a plan.
Yes.
Have the numbers that you need. Again, it's like joining the RAC. If you were to suffer some complications, or if you were to suddenly go into labour in the middle of Tesco's, what
Yeah.
what would you do?
Yeah.
So you need the number that you can call your partner at work. There might be an emergency number that you can get hold of them if they're likely to be in meetings. You might have your parents, you might have your sister or your friends that are your emergency support network where you'd have to drop the toddler off. Um, you might need to call the
Well, your older
nursery.
kids as well, of course, they're not just toddlers, but it tends
Yeah,
to be that kind of 2 year gap when I'm working with parents.
yeah,
And also, that thing about one tip I always want to get in with parents is when grandma comes to the hospital and all the rest of everyone comes, make a fuss of the toddler or the older child, because the baby won't remember, and everyone whisks in, all guns blazing. Oh, the baby. And it's in those moments that you help a child not suffer sibling rivalry. I write a lot about that, work with lots of families around the sibling rivalry thing, not even from the beginning, as they grow and get older. So that's just a simple thing. Have a little present, actually, that you come in and make a fuss of the
yeah.
toddler or the 4-year-old, giving them the gift and say, oh, we brought that. How's your day? The baby, I know you're dying to get your hands on the baby, but the baby won't remember, but your older child will. So make them feel good and make them feel important, and then they get involved, and it just helps lessen that maybe sibling rivalry they may be feeling, or jealousy, or uncertainty.
That's a good tip. That's such a good tip. Yeah. Yeah. So again, you could put that in your birth plan for afterwards, and your partner can can remember
Yeah.
that when he's making when they're making the call or whatever to say, oh,
Grab the present from
yeah.
the baby. The baby's bought you the bike. Oh, how lovely.
That's exactly what we did actually with my son when my daughter was born. We got him a present from Tilly.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it
It's
does
these
work.
small things that can make a big difference.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And again, put boundaries in place. I was totally overwhelmed when Tobias was born. He was a rainbow baby, and so the whole village wanted to visit. I'm not kidding.
Oh, wow.
I think we had about 260
Oh,
cards.
my God.
Yeah, my house is like a florist, and
Oh,
I
wow.
I just couldn't cope with
Yeah.
it. I had to put a sign on the door in the in the end, just saying,
Go
sorry,
away.
really appreciate the gesture. Um, really appreciate it, but we've got too many wise men and shepherds at the moment, so you're gonna have to wait a little bit
And
longer,
it's
because that's
definitely
important
okay
bonding
to
time.
say that. That's part of the plan, actually. That feeling overwhelmed. Life has changed completely. Your body's been through some, interesting emotions and physical, maybe hopefully not too difficult, but you are bashed and bruised a bit mentally and physically in that sense. And it's okay to say, no, I don't want everyone round for Sunday lunch. I've just had a baby, or I don't want to come to you actually for Sunday lunch. I just kind of want to be at home and quiet. So just hopefully the way you say these things, because people can get offended when you say certain things like that. So it's how you say it, or you prep them for saying it, so that your needs are really paramount at that time. And people, I think, understand, but they do fuss and they do get very excited, don't they? And they want to overwhelm you with love or time or help, or just arrive with a casserole. That would be quite handy.
That would be really handy, and that's the thing. I think people mean well, and they can push their opinions onto you. But
Yeah.
actually, it's okay to turn around and say, "Oh, do you know what? What would actually be really, really helpful right now is to bring some dinners,
Yeah.
and leave
Yes.
them on the doorstep, or
Or
what?
do the ironing or
Yeah,
something.
absolutely.
If you get through those, those baby grows and all those clothes and your own stuff
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
My mother-in-law, Lord have mercy on her, she's no longer with us, but she was so practical and so unassuming. And so things were all being done quite quietly behind the scenes so that I could relax and focus on the baby. So that was really nice.
That's really nice, yeah. And it's okay. And to be honest, I think more and more of us are doing it now. It seems to be the modern world where we're learning about this word called boundaries.
Yeah.
We are actually starting to put them in place now. So I think people do get it.
And one of the things I want to say at the end, then, it's just popped into my head. I know we all take photos of the baby, and it's lovely to have your mobile phone and smartphone everywhere. But be careful where you post your photographs. I've just written a whole load of articles on my website all around navigating the digital jungle. And one of those is those images now with fake AI. You don't know. There's a video that I watched actually that's quite, shocking in a sense. They take these pictures and they can make the child look older and older and older, and then they do terrible things with them. And whilst I'm not trying to scaremonger you, I'm trying to make lots of parents aware of, be careful. Those first day at school photos, they go out into the cyberspace and Meta own them. And then you don't know where they go. And I am mindful of, it can go into a horrible place. Of course, share your photos, but with perhaps your friends and your family in a private group, not necessarily plastered all over Instagram. Just a thought. And while I'm on this hobby horse, put your phone down when you're breastfeeding or you're bottle feeding your baby. Don't get into the habit of, I'll just check this. Because the next thing is you're down a rabbit hole and you haven't started to bond properly with your baby. So I just want to say that because it's important to me that you do bond well.
So true. It's so true. And another thing I was going to add is to not feel pressured about announcing the birth instantly as
Yes,
well. That always, doesn't,
yes, that's a
we
good one.
feel like we've got to announce
Yeah,
the birth to the world with the birth weight and maybe even a
yeah,
photo
yeah,
and make it all
yes.
Instagrammable. But you know what? There is absolutely no rush. This is your very, very special time, which you're never going to get back.
It is. It's your magic moment. And in fact, take a breath. We don't need to always be, here's my dinner, here's my baby, here's the. Let it sink in about this
Be in
magical
the
moment.
moment
Be in the
and really
moment.
notice
Yeah.
and think, wow, my child has just come into the world.
Amazing.
Um, and
Yeah.
really, yeah, really spend that very special time with them. If you don't put anything on social media to announce that they've arrived in a week,
So what?
it doesn't matter,
It
does
doesn't
it?
matter.
No
Because
one's
those
going
that
to remember
matter,
that.
because those that matter will know. And those that don't
Exactly.
particularly matter, well, okay, But actually, it's far more important that you put your child at the centre of your new family. And that is really important because we are also pushed around with all this digital stuff. And just take that moment to be in the moment. I think that's really important to me anyway.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Well, thank you so much, Sue. Hopefully everyone's found this really, really interesting, and it will go up on our website so people can watch it back. And then next week follows on beautifully because it's all about communicating effectively with your maternity team, which is just what we've been talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. So I look forward to joining you next week. So take care, everyone. See you next time.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone.
Bye
Bye.
bye.